There was another moment in Trump's World Economic Forum Davos speech that didn't get quite as much attention, but I think he actually wanted it to, and it just, with all the Greenland stuff, it didn't really get picked up, but where he threatens prosecutions against supposed people who were involved in quote-unquote rigging the 2020 election. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. You can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it, when I win in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements.
Lest you thought that perhaps he had moved on from his election delusions and this didn't have to be something we think about anymore. No, no, no. The president still very much has this on his mind. There was another moment where he got asked about whether or not they had learned anything from Maduro about this, supposed Venezuelan election voting machine fraud rigging situation. Gave an interesting response there as well. Let's take a listen to that.
And you spoke earlier about the 2020 election. Now that Maduro is in U.S. custody and he was criminally charged, has any more information emerged that you could share with us regarding Venezuelan election software and Venezuelan ties to tampering with the 2020 election? And would you consider speaking to Maduro personally in prison in New York to get some answers on Venezuela's involvement with the 2020 election?
No, I don't think I would be doing that. I think my lawyers would be very unhappy if I did. Yeah, they've learned some things.
Even Trump is like, what are you talking
But then he goes, no, they've learned some things. You know what? The question is obviously insane, but there is a non-insane version of it, because one thing that has been actively floated, and including by someone in Trump's DOJ, is that maybe there's a deal to be made with Maduro and he can turn over, reveal the truth about the rigged
Venezuelan dominions?
Yes, about the rigged Venezuelan dominions in the 2020 election, and then he can plead to lesser charges and then he and his wife can go home. I don't put that out of the realm of possibility. So I appreciate actually this completely bonkers question getting asked.
If that's the deal, honestly, send him home. All right, that's a good thing, right? Let's get it back, and let's just move this nightmare on with it. No, in all seriousness, by the way, that was Lindell TV's.
Is that?
Yeah, I've been watching my old colleagues in the briefing room with some interest of how this has all been going down. Every single week she gets one, and it's something about she was the first auto pen question, by the way, when I was there, if I recall, whenever I went there last year.
I feel like I've seen this lady before. Was she?
I didn't really know.
Else?
I know. I don't know her career back in the day, but it is.
I haven't followed her lore.
Have not followed. Yeah, maybe I should. There's certainly a burgeoning star, but that is definitely part of the Lindell TV. The Lindell TV scope here. I actually don't think it is as crazy as you said, because a sizable part of Stop the Steal is entirely based on Venezuela. And so now that Maduro is here, it would actually track, like you're seeing there, people taking it seriously, of supposedly trying to investigate this. And what we have seen with the DOJ is that they are willing to go along with many of Trump's fantasies with anything, right? So Comey, Lisa Cook. I'm trying to think. There's multiple here in Virginia. They had multiple cases that they had to drop, but they're continuing to pursue them. Letitia James.
Now
right,
they're
that
going after her hairdresser
in the Eastern District
of
in the Eastern District of Virginia. So they've had multiple of these types of cases, and obviously, he wants to be vindicated on the 2020 election, and so this is not something that's going to go away. I mean, they had the whole Tina Peters thing, which continues to be like a thing here in Washington. They're continuing to look at ways to get her out of prison. So no, I don't think it's actually all that crazy that something could potentially happen. at the same time, let's remember Tulsi Gabbard went to the White House podium and was like, we have unveiled like one of the biggest political scandals in history. Okay, all right, okay. Where's the prosecutor, right? What happened? Nothing, all right? And this is where...
Maybe Dan Bongino, now that he's out of
now
the
Bongino,
FBI and on his podcast, can reveal it.
That is the part, too, where for the MAGA folks, like, you guys have to have some self-respect here. Like, you can't... Because they amplify this. They're like, oh, my God, bombshell, Tulsi Gabbard, Obama, all of the treason. Remember they asked him about treason?
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, what's funny is that wouldn't Obama be immune under the official acts as president?
Of course.
Which the Supreme Court ruled on behalf of Trump.
Absolute immunity.
Absolute and total immunity for the president. Okay. But, you know, it's like they just forget about these things like 3 weeks later as if it didn't happen. And I don't know. Obviously, I hope this is like the case of just like bullshitting or whatever, but you have to take it seriously.
Well, here's another reason why you have to take it seriously. Let's put D3 up on the screen. So the Trump administration has now been forced in court filings to admit that the DOGE team took Social Security data and was giving it to one of these like Stop the Steal organizations looking for quote unquote voter fraud. So let me read you this. 2 members of Elon Musk's DOGE team working at the Social Security Administration were secretly in touch with an advocacy group seeking to overturn election results in certain states, and one signed an agreement that may have involved using Social Security data to match state voter rolls, the Justice Department revealed in newly disclosed court papers. Elizabeth Shapiro, top Justice Department official, said Social Security Administration referred both DOGE employees for potential violations of the Hatch Act, which bars government employees from using their official positions for political purposes. Shapiro's previously unreported disclosure dated Friday came as part of a list of corrections to testimony by top Social Security Administration officials during last year's legal battles over DOGE's access to Social Security data. They revealed that DOGE team members shared data on unapproved third-party servers, may have accessed private information that had been ruled off limits by a court at the time. Shapiro said the case of the 2 DOGE team members appeared to undermine a previous assertion by SSA that DOGE's work was intended to detect fraud, waste, and abuse in Social Security and modernize the agency's technology. So basically, previous SSA officials were either lying or didn't know what these DOGE people were doing underneath of their noses. This has now been discovered, and they, probably were fearful that the court was going to catch them in this lie. So they had to come out with this information, which says, you know how we told you that they were not accessing sensitive information, that they certainly weren't sharing it with third parties, that they weren't using unapproved, unsecured channels to share that information. Yeah, that was all completely wrong. In fact, these guys went in and did all of that. And so again, lest you think that the fixation on 2020 has ended, here they are directly working with one of these quote-unquote advocacy groups to try to overturn election results, gee, I wonder which elections, using your sensitive Social Security information that is being held by the federal government.
Yeah, it's a disaster. I mean, there's no other way around it. And this was always a problem with DOGE. And look, with this one, details are still a little bit weird because they're saying that they're not sure like what information or whatever was shared. It doesn't really matter because even being in touch with the organization is the violation here of the Hatch Act, and it does trace back. I think that this is more of the tip of the iceberg, personally, and that this is 100%. Why that I've said, if you're a DOGE member, you better hope Elon's going to be paying your legal bills, because when these Democrats come into power in 2026, can you imagine like what the subpoenas and all of that will eventually show as a result of just those chaotic first couple of days?
Well, not only
and this
that,
was the concern.
Yeah, and not only
from
that,
day one.
The Trump administration is throwing them under the bus. I mean, happy to be like, these guys were doing some crazy stuff. We didn't have any idea about it in the context of this court. So they're not your pardon is not coming from Trump. You're not getting a pardon from Trump. He doesn't give a shit about you. He's throwing you under the bus. Whatever crimes you committed, that's going to be on you. And yeah, so now it's coming out through this particular court process. But you're right. If Democrats are back in charge, even, they're probably going to get the House back, possibly the Senate. Very likely they win the White House next time around. Any Democrat worth their salt will do a deep dive investigation into all the shit that went down during DOGE, because they were going wild. Who knows what else was done in the context of those early months of DOGE.
Yeah, I think the oversight committee, I mean, look, the presidency, who knows, 3 years away. But House in a year, that's definitely something that's very open as a question. I have long thought that I don't think Washington is ready for what the House Oversight Committee, because it has subpoena power, don't forget. And we'll definitely get some sort of executive showdowns over that, but you cannot keep the House away forever. You're also going to have people who are going to be testifying under oath. You can call them to come and testify no matter what, even when you do cite executive privilege, as we all saw during Russiagate, last time around in 2017. So there's still some serious, serious problems that this administration, it's really not the top level officials. They're all rich. It doesn't matter. But it's the DOGE employees, Elon's assistants, other people who may have been privy to meetings. Then you always have questions and other things. You could hold up funding if you don't get certain things that come your way. So things are about to change, I think, pretty significantly if the midterms go the way that we expect. Okay, we've got author Danny Funt standing by. He's going to talk about sports gambling. Let's get to it.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.